Hey. Hey. Hi. How are you? Hope everything's going well. Welcome back. And this is like a welcome back, considering that I streamed for four and a half hours earlier, something like that, of some fake Grand Order. But we are back to our usual bat time, usual bat program. And we are going to continue our adventure. So, last time, if you recall, we finished Susato's lawyering and said goodbye to the gallant and dashing Ryutaro Naruhodo. So now we need to return back to Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I believe, and find out what the memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro are. So, let's go. Episode 2.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Is it just me, or is the narrator not particularly English? My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law. Having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to be here, London, England. To here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I have successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber. Thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. I appear to not have eaten breakfast either, or dinner, the night before. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Shom's suite, and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. The 30th of August, 7:28 a.m., Sholmes' suite. Ah, Ryuno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation. Repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. So that's it. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo. You have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has. And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Hurley pulled your button off? Yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did that happen? Why? Little wonder then that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But, Hurley, Bruno said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young gal, who's the author of a highly I almost said unsuccessful. Whoops. Who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, as published in the Rats magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really? That's right. And she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun. Alright. I think I'm just gonna... Oh, we can't even do anything else, I don't think. Missy Sutter's letters. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning, by international post. Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful writing. Oh, I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well. Oh, sorry. She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? Cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man. Twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. Ah, the mustached twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache. He didn't have 2 mustaches, Harley. Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. So, what was the startling news penned by Mr. Sato? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten them. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago. For what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. That case, yes! Oh, it was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that. Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? Oh, it's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? And the way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was. Due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right. Telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No. It just said he was suffering from a high fever, the case of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that? I have to admit, I've absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. Hurley, do you know what it's all about? Oh, he's changed. Ah, well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, mind the fort am I absent? Won't you, Iris? Oh, I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later. He's scuttled off rather quickly there. He's probably going to go get the manuscript, maybe? I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Sosaki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Yeah, I found them at last. Iris! Are they... The notes about the case. That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Muno? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case, but perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue. I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. Well, that seems unfortunate for the Great Ace Attorney, doesn't it? It was 6 months ago. A mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Shams. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And, after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Was the man's reaction after the trial. But his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Shams the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart at once. So, Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. That's a rat. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Shams. I think not. Oh. You're late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Shams, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right. And it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for what felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy, and feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She only just regained consciousness. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So, that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back. Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green. Is this going to be Clue? I'm curious about what this is. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh, yes. It's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? Maybe your brother. my Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. What is this? Dancing mannequin? This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Is this a pet? It's got to be a pet, right? A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo! An enormous mouse! Vermin in a hospital. That doesn't seem the best. It looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you're thinking. I will talk to her, don't worry. This looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place? A zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. Hope she hasn't read this. This looks like the treatment nurse for who's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Alright. Is this how I talk to her, or... Okay, yes it is. Good morning. Hello. I'm... Yunosuke Naruhodo, from the Empire of Japan. Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who... No. I'm a lawyer. And I'm Susato Mitotoba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no! Was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come to give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Ha, thank you. I'm Olive. Olive Great... God, these names. Oh, why? Oh, this game. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Whoops, I just missed when I clicked. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. Oh, it's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? Well, I've been here in hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madame. Spectacularly. By none other than I, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. Oh, I'm so sorry. Should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. Oh, no. We're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no. Oh, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts? Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh, no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. How very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away from the underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, judging by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means? I suppose Soseki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for young fine art students to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly climbed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh, yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there Mr. Naruhodo here? Mr. Naruhodo? Naruhodo now. Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Nutmeg. Mr. Nutmeg sent a message to me. Saucy Nutmeg, that's good. But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Nutmeg? Exactly. What's going on? What's the Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Oh, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Shums? Is something wrong, Mr. Shums, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Nutmeg's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit to his lodgings, which we did. That will be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail a fiacre at once. Fiacre? Fiacre? I don't know how to pronounce that. I hope I did that right. It was only it was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court, and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address. Oh, he may very well be the unluckiest man alive. So it seemed to us at the time. But we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Knockity knock knock. They look kind of familiar. What on earth? Oh my! The gentleman is deceased, without question. He's dead. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court! Yesterday! Was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this? No early bird should catch a worm like this! Oh, for a worm without wiggle! I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Oh, not the horrible Herlock Shums! Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself to the door! I never invited you! Mr. Shums came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I'm entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Here they are, already. The busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson. What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene! Don't you go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Alright, I'm going to assume that if I attempt to examine any of this, Gregson's going to yell at me. But let's try it anyway. Oi! I said hands off! You're going to mess up my crime scene. Oh, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it. Ugh, someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright. Sounds like I better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Curry. Let's talk to his potato chips. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamsford. Oh, these names. They're so good and so awful. I love this game. Mr. William Shakespeare. Shakespeare. Billy Shamspeare is a ledger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens. Or just dead. Mr. Shamspeare. It was the landlord, old Mr. Gardeb in the other ledger. Lodger Mr. Natsme found him. The fellow didn't rise at his usual hour, so Gardeb got word and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Gardeb have a bad leg? Ha, yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Soseki-san. The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintance were the people in his house. Miserable life, and might as well into it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it because of the fellow looks old or anything, or that he acts suspicious, but I thought it'd be prudent to take a statement from the culprit. Cohabiter. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Oh, it certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Oh man, how unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Wonder how cold a dead body is. Not that I really want to know, but like how cold? Alright, I guess we should speak to him. Although I'm kind of curious if Sherlock is just like hanging off of a random thing somewhere. Oh, look, Shamspeare had his own little like play set, so he could like put on performances or something. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, I finally regained my freedom. Starts happening all over again. The endless existence of excruciating experiences. So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, you're neighbors, I suppose. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it! What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, when we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Inspector over there. I see you. Okay, he doesn't have anything new to talk about. Hello, Sherlock. What are you doing? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? You need only observe it to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, Have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madame. Patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness. But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you proposed the idea, I believe one could, indeed, see it that way. At the present time, I've managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Ah! Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! All right, Mr. Natsume. Why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've had some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. The game is afoot. Careful observation of the victims reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningfully, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact. Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. What? Alright, what else do you got for me, Sholmes? The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have responded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on his way to the hereafter. Very nice. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Dot, dot, dot. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach. Yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh? And what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Ah! I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deduction touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense! Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deduction may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observation and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it forces us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick up the keywords in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, time for us to save, basically. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. A film at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate the soap. Did the victim really eat the soap? This is a good question. It's like, why is this not like... Wait, hold on. Oh, I see the other piece of soap. Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspeare must really have loved the stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Okay, I can't see that. I mean, it seems to me probably not like this is the thing we need to present, but I'm curious what the teacup says. Do you think he was drinking tea with this soap? Well, the cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. Ah, how about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp as much down as possible. Sorry, for some reason I can't read. Please remember that he may have not actually been the soap lover that he has been made out to be. I suppose you'd eat soap with a fork, would you? Why, I don't think it's a question of which implement you use. You shouldn't eat soap. Full stop. But then why? Why does the man have a fork in his hand? Oh dear. I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruhodo, but please don't take it out on me. The point is, if we decide the man used this fork to eat the soap, we would be changing Mr. Shum's deduction. So we really ought to consider some other clues. Okay, I can't actually like rotate all the way around anything, so I'm just going to present the soap. Call it good. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Shums is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? No. No, it's not. In fact, tea passes people's lips. Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you all know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty. Ah. So we've already established the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence that suggests that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly. Can I just want to see if there's... No, there's literally nothing else. Alright, so... Teacup then.
Take that!
But it looked relatively clean, didn't it? Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed. Cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Gonna be unfortunate to overrule this one. The cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamsur was having a drink of tea. There'd be nothing remarkable about that. But what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mrs. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues. I mean, I think this is suspicious, but... Alright. Okay, so there's that. Oh! Oh, he has another teacup. Uh-oh. It's another Western vessel from Fuse. It's a teacup! Naruhodo. And it too is empty. Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand, we can assume that this is the cup from Mr. Shamsur was actually drinking. But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we've deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost don't want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you feel. Buttons. There's the stain over there. Alright, well, it's the other teacup. Alright.
Take that!
Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can now say with certainty, that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guest who was in here last night, when the victim passed away, is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. It's the books, isn't it? And their spectacles. At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these three books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Monsieur the Cook, Contemporary Yearnings, and A Meal for Gabaro. Oh, we know those from the last case. Wait. I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It could just be an incredibly coincidence. But they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. Oh. I think I've been saying his name wrong, by the way. Given that they mispronounced it with the British guy saying saucy nutmeg or whatever. It's probably not Soseki, but Soski. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet, Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What? What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Pile of familiar books. Ugh. It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. bother. Susalzon's quick response was cleverer than my original riddle. Oh dear, the latch is most definitely broken, isn't it? The door was kicked in by Mr. Notsme, according to what Mr. Gerdub told the inspector. Who knew his short, thin little legs had so much strength in them? I'm not sure the length of his legs is in any way significant here. Perhaps this says more about the poor state of the door than about Mr. Notsme's strength, actually. Careful. If he overheard that remark, he'll most certainly have a lively response. I don't know. Can this broken lock really tell us anything about who was here? No, probably not. Alright, let's get him thrown in jail again. Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these three titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these 3 books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never. No, non-negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor was you, Mr. Sosuke Natsume. This concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Elementary. Alright, hold on. I just need to check this real quick.
Natsume Souseki.
Natsume Souseki.
Oh, okay, so I was saying it right. Souseki.
Natsume Souseki.
Natsume Souseki.
This is on a Forvo, by the way, with what do you call it? Native speakers pronouncing words. So
Natsume Souseki.
Natsume Souseki.
So it's not Sosuke, it's Souseki. Alright, well, either way, good job on the localization team, I suppose. Coming up with some form of, silly thing that's sort of close. Oh, not again! Not again! Not again! Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsume. Would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait. Hold your horses. Yes. Door. Key. Locked. Entry. Exit. Entirely impossible. He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal. What? You think that's an alibi? You just made a copy. You live in the same building after all. You'd have had plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. Misery me. Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. You horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now. No dilly-dallying. Outside. There's a carriage waiting. Welcome soon, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but you have to help me. Please, please, I'm innocent. All right, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes. My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. Wait, Soseki has a cat? And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Soseki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. He's not wrong. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. And of course... What? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Geardeb, who discovered Mr. Shamspeare. Ah, Mr. John Geardeb, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right. We must remember to go talk to him later then. Alright. Let us save, because we have gone through our deduction. That was not bad. Alright. And examine time. So what do we want to look at first? I'm kind of curious about this. What's this? It looks like part of an envelope, I think. Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off and the letter was open. It's the same green as the International Post from before. Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps. When you look around the room, there's no sign of a letter, or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? She's right. And yet here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I agree. We better take this just in case. A napkin? There's not much on these shelves, is there? Just this wine glass and bottle. And both of them are cracked. Yes, not much use, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor Lord Von Zeeks? Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it's a waste and that he should donate some to the needy. You can suggest it next time we meet. Look at these extravagant bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room, with its grim, shady going-ons. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? I've always dreamt of being a king. I think you'd be more suited to a feudal lord, a daimyo or such like, with a chonmage topknot. Or sorry, a chonmage topknot. Every Japanese man wishes he had a chonmage. Oh, you'd look wonderful with one. And you already have the sword. Hold on. Okay, yep, it is exactly what I thought it was. Hold on, let me pull up the image for you, assuming that this WebP renders. There we go. This is what she wants him to wear. She wants him to look like Prosecutor Ouchie, I think. It's not a bad hairstyle though, I mean, honestly. Though I can't really imagine I can't really imagine him wearing that. I'm not gonna lie.
Chonmage.
That was not a native translator, in case that wasn't obvious. I just wanted to hear what Google Translate said. But anyway, can you imagine what would happen if I walked around the streets of London with a chonmage and a sword? The same thing that normally happens when you walk around with London with a sword, probably. As we've seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay. Oh, strange things they used to tax in Britain. Oh, sorry. I still have the chum. Hold on. Let me remove that. We don't need to have that on there anymore. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had on a property. It's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid an unaffordable tax. God, I wish I could speak properly and read. Oh. What is it, Mr. Sato? If you look closely, a number of the bricks are loose. Ho ho. That is suspicious. Soap? Oh yes. It looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of them just here. Was it Mr. Shanspeare who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room. Look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge. And there's something on it. What? Outside? Is that soap? It's so cold outside. You can feel it through the sky. It did snow all last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is it on the ledge out there? What are those snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? Huh. I have no idea. But the pair of them look rather charming like that. Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window? Well, I think perhaps we should take one. There are two, after all. Oh dear, I suppose we could. Oh, what's this? Look here at this soap. Do you see? In the middle there, there's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hinamaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. Expensive? Then what is it doing in this ramshackle old room? Well, that is very curious, isn't it? Now, what about this? And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, this is a gas meter, I think. It seems that in this district, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Excuse me. Ah, I see. Now that you pointed it out, I can see that there's a slot just here that looks like it would take a coin. So you mean, if you put a coin in here... That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So, if you were a poor person with no money, you'd have to sleep in the freezing cold. Yes, or if you were a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to the gas pipe in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett had an open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I don't recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I much prefer a real fire anyway. It's so much cozier. And cheaper, probably. Maybe. I don't really know. That board looks loose. Oh, right, we haven't examined the body yet at all. Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death? Being poisoned as he was? I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder... Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? Sorry? I made sure I had a reference at the ready for just such an occasion as this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread it now. One moment. There's quite a spine on that book, isn't there? Ah, one of the teacups that Mr. Shamsby and his guest drank from last night. But don't go drinking from them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's a bit of poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true. So, one was Mr. Shamspear's, and the other must be the cup that Mr. Natsume was drinking from. But Seosaki-san wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can examine them in more detail later. The one with the green line around the room was Mr. Natsume's. Right. That's it? Oh, I didn't get a chance to examine this. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, right? Inspector Gregson, back so soon. After I threw that little Japanese fell in the clink, I went and reported this to the investigation division. 5 minutes time, this place will be cordoned off by the Lord. Oh, I see. We'd better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Natsume must be feeling very low, being back in a cell again so soon. I'm sure we should probably go and... What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part? It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed! Oh, happy day! Walking Dead! So, no murder then? The fella isn't dead at all? What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A soliloquy from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. If the man had indeed been poisoned, it transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment, and Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. Well then, no need to charge Seosaki, right? Can we let him out of his jail cell, please? Whatever do you think will happen now? Good question. What a strange situation for Mr. Natsume. Arrested for murder, but then the victim comes back to life. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seems very likely that Mr. Shamsur did consume poison, but, as we deduced, but wasn't an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder. Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody. Well, I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Seosaki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me, could we have a word? Ah! Okay, Colonel Mustard. He just ran off. I feel sure that I've seen that man somewhere before. Where was it? I do too. But I don't remember. It wasn't one of the brothers, was it? To be honest, I didn't really get a good look at him. Can you see the bars of soap? With the exception of the top floor, where Mr. and Mrs. Gerdeb live, all the windows are bricked up. Yes, that's because of an old window tax that was charged on the number of windows a property had. In order to pay less tax, the poor members of society filled in many of their windows. But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? So the windows could all be opened up again, surely. Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done. Yes, that is a sad state of affairs. Especially for people like poor Mr. Natsume, to live all cooped up in a windowless room. Well, I suppose that's the price you pay for living in a very cheap accommodation. It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that. Nice broken bike. There always seems to be a bicycle outside the Gerda residence. I read that the bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. That one seems very warped though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think? No, I'm afraid that may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly affected. Then there's a good chance Mr. Natsume has been practicing on this bicycle, I think. Oh dear. I fear you may be right. We could go talk to Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. Probably would be a good thing to do. I doubt that these have like any real clues for us. Though I'm kind of curious what they say about the snowman. Why has somebody built the snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think? That's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body. Really? But it already has a perfectly good body. Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner. And now we're looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man. I know how he feels. If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen that are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections. Head, torso, and legs. Do you ever think that perhaps you think about things too much? Oops, whoa. Sorry, I clicked outside the thing by accident. London's blanketed in fog today, and the sky is covered in cloud. But if you look carefully in the distance, you can just make out the Crystal Tower being built. The Crystal Tower, yes. The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition is to open in 6 months' time. Everyone's talking about the Great Exhibition of London at the moment, it seems. Well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world, with technology and scientists from all over. Oh, I can't wait for it to myself. Do you think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry? The last great exhibition was the... good lord, I can't speak. I am so sorry. The last great exhibition that was held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger success, to outdo the Paris Exposition. Ah, I see. That's an incredible number of people. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip it unnoticed. There's always the honest approach of buying tickets to the main entrance, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, but you think we have the money for that, Susato? The Gerda household and Mr. Natsume's lodgings are in a prominent position there on the corner. Sometimes when I look at that building, I can't help feeling there's a bit of a slant. It does rather look as though it would collapse in even the smallest earthquake, doesn't it? And isn't it supposed to be haunted as well? I think I might have a hunch as to why Soseki-san is such a hunched back. Alright. Okay. How do I... oh, back. Jeez. Sorry. It did change, right? I think. New location has been added. Briar Road, Garrideb's room, or the prison. You know, I don't believe it was this place for some time. You know, they must be questioning poor Mr. Natsume. The prison cell where the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is being held. He's spending so much time in it, he'll have to start calling the place home soon. The suite on the top floor of the house where Mr. Natsume has his lodgings. Occupied by the landlord, Mr. Garrideb and his wife, the window looks out over the Briar Road below. Alright, well, Let's go to the Gyarados. Do. Here we are again. The eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. We're here because Mr. Gyarados is the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget.
Ah, you chaps, eh?
Yes, good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday.
It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Gyarados as anyone, really.
Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Gyarados.
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room.
Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? Wait, there's a table next to him? Where did he just put that cup? What? Hold on, can I examine? There is no table here.
What?
Where did you just put that cup? It must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he suddenly lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door. Bit of bally answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door.
Well, according to that rum-looking Japanese chap did the grunt work, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour. That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down. I'd have to kick your door down every morning. Wow, I don't know why sometimes I'm like I just don't read. Or like you read the words and then they just get mixed up in your mouth as you try to like put them out from your brain. It's a tricky thing.
Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that.
Is it just me? Or was he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. The victim's name is Mr. Shamspeare, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, William Shamspeare.
To the ground floor room 3 months ago now. And how would you describe him?
Maybe in a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose.
So hard to choose which category Soseki-san would fall into. Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude.
He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what?
Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Yes. William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated. Sao. It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there? Of course Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamsu would have had much in common. Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude. After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe. Didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning?
Well, no. Must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. The snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember. was completely dark already. That third actor chap was out at the time.
Mr. Gerda noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose.
Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. Set to 8 before Shamsphere got back. And the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there.
Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Is everything alright, Mr. Sato? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Gerda, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly.
Not a big fan of stairs, or this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
Ah!
That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here.
Yeah, I can tell that it's humid in my room because my bottles of water that I have here are just like drenched in condensation. Which is, you know, has its uses, I suppose, as far as like keeping me cool. But still unpleasant. Unpleasant because they're like condensating all over the floor. One moment. I sorry. I don't like that my my rug is a wee bit wet, I guess, from this. It's not like too bad, but I'm just gonna put a shirt underneath them. Anyway, sorry about that. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spawn his tenants? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking is a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I?
Then, how do you know? Oh, sorry. How did you know, Mr. Gerda?
It's the gas woman. The gas tells me everything.
The gas? What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything?
Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes.
Yes, I more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too.
Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen?
Well, obviously the room would get brighter.
Exactly. But at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it? That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable.
Truly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out, and barely got any gas in there to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. They extinguish the lamps up here and they go brighter than the rest of the house.
Right, I see. So, by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You've got it.
But that doesn't tell him which room, though. It only tells him a room, right? Oh, of course. Because when people come back home in the evening, and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. Oh, okay. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Gerdeb. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh, well, nothing to it, really.
And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Gerdeb is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity.
Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again. A good idea. Well, thanks. Sadly, I can't present anything to him, I guess. Oh wait, yes I can. Can I ask about the envelope? Mr. Gerda, could I show you this? Quite a couple of days, as you can imagine. I'm afraid I'm rather tired. I haven't really got the energy in the old eyeballs, to be honest with you. Some other time, then. Okay, but what about the soap? No. Okay. Just wanted to check. I won't bother with any of the other ones. Alright, well. Let's go chat with the prisoner. Oh, don't you look solemn. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now? Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Oh, yes. What is he? Tell me, is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess, you're talking about Mr. Sholmes. He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Cursed. I'm cursed, I tell you. Well, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news. Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Now, in the absolute worst case, he'll only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume? That's terrible! Oh. I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess. You're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, it's that selfish shyster. Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William! Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamsir was never actually dead in the first place. Ah, yes. That might make more sense, and I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. Well, I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh. Oops. Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you? I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present. Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story. Look at this perfect face right here. It's just like at the who do you think I am bit. Oh, why am I cursed like this? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume? There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping with that cursed case yesterday. The case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in the back. It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. Do you think William Shamspeare is the boy in the picture that we saw on Olive Green's desk? He had blonde hair in the picture, but after the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening, at past 9, it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspeare. So, you did go to the victim's room then? As we feared.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time.
Then, what made you decide to go?
I bumped into him when I ran back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties in with what Mr. Garrett said, that the victim went out and came back after 8.
We met again later that evening, at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift.
So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then? And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet, who was the stronger? It's a delightful debate.
I'm sure.
Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare.
And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shakespeare's tea.
No! Never! Not at all! Team Juliet won! That was me. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it, categorically.
Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence.
Oh, I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time, I've learned that there's no place for me.
It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember. And then, 1 week ago, I moved into Briar Road.
But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable.
Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me.
The rent?
Obviously. There's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed.
Cursed? Cursed how?
The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there.
Oh no!
He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead, and no one could explain why.
Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that.
I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning.
Brave or blinkered?
But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful? How did the room's history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first glance, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me.
Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you?
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place.
A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
Oh, the souls who've died in that room leaned over me in my sleep and tried to strangle me.
That really is horrible.
And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamster was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible.
Yes, you're right. I know it. And that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodations with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Phew. Susato-san knows how to make the man listen. Of course. Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. You mean Mr. Gadeb? Yes. He knows that if people keep dying, they'll never be able to rent it out again. Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Ah, perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms. What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps? Oh dear. No, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Notsme. Please forget I said anything. Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is that Mr. Shamsphere isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come round and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Excuse me. Inspector Gregson. Not going on over here on what you just said. On that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh. What you want first? Always, every time, the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Alright. Well, in that case, the good news it is. Huh. Sorry, but it's a lot easier to explain everything that way. Then, why did you ask me about my preference? As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamsu, was just unconscious. He's come around now. Yes, we saw what happened in all its terrifying glory. Still being treated by the doctors. We managed to get a written statement from him already. Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume? Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave this somber cell. Sorry, no. That's not on the cards. Oh. Why ever not, Inspector? Mr. Shamsu has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone? Oh dear. You don't mean... I'm sorry to say I do, yes. Pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume. Oh! By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wicked caitiff. Soseki Natsume. No. Well, I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. If you want to make the necessary preparations. No! Poor Soseki. And so, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I'd represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. To be continued? To be continued. Alright. I think that I'll probably call the stream here tonight, because this is a good stopping point, and there's no way that we're going to get anywhere in like the next 15 minutes or so. Because I do like to keep the streams relatively short, and I did already stream 4 hours today earlier, so I'm gonna go ahead and kill it here. But on what day? Wednesday? Wednesday. On Wednesday, we shall resume. I suppose I'll save. We don't need to watch the typewriter next time. It should be fun. But yeah. So hopefully you all enjoyed. I did. It's a fun game, honestly. And I really like that we got the logic car spectator or whatever it was. Yeah, every time I play this game and like am deeply amused
by the absurd names and other things and whatnot, I keep thinking to myself that I need to get my dad to play this, because I bought him the first Ace Attorney trilogy, and I'm hoping he's not going insane with it. Like, because honestly, this one is way easier and like generally a little bit more intuitive besides like a few spots. Well, the previous game was good but also obtuse in certain places. Like, I'm thinking about the puzzle way to rotate that was it like the pot or something to like make this like specific shape or something. It was very, very precise and annoying, and I can imagine my dad not particularly enjoying that. And also, he's not really the type to like know that he could look up the answer online. So who knows? Maybe next time I chat with him, I'll have to like have to ask him about that. But for now, I'm going to disappear. So I hope you all have a great rest of your night or rest of your day, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I will catch you later. Probably tomorrow for something. I don't know what. Maybe Zelda? Possibly Zelda. It is July 4th tomorrow. The only plans that I have are to go grocery shopping with a friend, because I'm going to make cookies for my date that I have on Saturday. And I will hopefully do that okay. I mean, I'm not worried about the cookies, I'm worried about the date part. We'll see. Hopefully I don't behave like Soseki. Anyway, have a good one, and take it easy. Bye.